Hey guys, so since I've been slacking, I decided that this month I'm going to do 2 releases. I'm going to do one that I've kind of been holding on to, but I've been moving into a new apartment. I'm about to start a new job in a couple weeks, so my hands have been a little bit tied. So this month, like I said, I'm going to do 2 songs. One of the songs is going to be a heavier pace song, but this one in particular that I'm about to show you, I'm going to be doing a Stagelight. Software I kind of strayed away from a bit, but previously with my band MRL, I've released a ton of material that has been done solely out of the software. I've also done demos under the MRL YouTube channel, so I guess check that out. I'll put that in the description below. But I've already did the recordings for guitar and bass and kind of laid out the drums, so I probably should have done this earlier. But I'm going to add a couple of things with synth just for some flavor, so I'll show you the steps on that, show you kind of how easy it is to use the software. The sound you're going to get is just going to be from speakers. I'm not going to be doing any screen grabs, but hopefully this isn't too confusing and kind of understand it, and I hope you get something from it. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Just to get things kind of started, I already programmed all the drums, so I'm not going to go through all that. To add synth, what you would wind up doing is just add track here, click on the plus track and instrument track, and that'll bring up the options to select from these. I like the electro synth, so I tend to stick with that. I already have one added, so I'm actually going to just right click here and delete. One way you can wind up doing it is by the touchscreen. I have a touchscreen laptop, so another way, which I tend to use more, especially now because I have a phone in my hand, but you can actually use the keyboard. It's the home row. A would be the root, K would be an octave up, and then I actually have key lock on, which you can do by pressing this cog up here, and where it says C minor, by default it's actually off. It'll look like a key, so you can click on that, turn it on, and then I'm in the key of C. I stick to natural minor just because it's the easiest. I generally only use it to plot things out, and then I normally add like a major like dissonance in between chords. So I'll turn it on now, but probably wind up turning it off later. But there's many other options in here that I never really use. But with the key lock on, it will actually kind of force things just in a row so that we don't have to go back and forth. With it off, which I'll turn off real quick, you have the full keys. So you got, which only having one octave is kind of a hassle, so turning it back on snaps it into an octave range in that key, so you only have to go left to right. You don't have to worry about in betweens. Just, that's a minor third because I set it to minor, and then go from there. Another thing I forgot to mention earlier as well is if you don't like the octave, instead of opening up the piano roll by double clicking, you can actually come down to the keyboard, and if you press Z, it'll shift down an octave. If you press X, it'll go up an octave. So I'm going to try something in a different octave, see how I like it. Not really digging that, so I'm going to bring it back down. Alright, and another thing I mentioned, and you may have noticed, was it will auto-quantize within reason. It's not going to, snap hard to an 1/8 or 16th, but it will, if it notices a mix-up, it will try to snap it closer to the grid so that way it sounds a little more natural. So I'm going to try and record that idea and just see how it goes. So I messed that up, so what I'm going to wind up doing, just out of simplicity, is just create a scratch track of the same thing. So open instrument track, Go back to electro synth, close this out, and another thing you guys might have noticed is that I didn't really bother picking an instrument. This is just the default electro synth instrument, so we will come back in here and check those out afterwards. So one thing that's kind of a bummer about working with an actual keyboard is that you only have 1 octave range. So I'd like the higher octave, but I need a minor third in there. So I'm actually gonna, instead of re-recording, I'm just gonna open the piano roll and kind of mess with that. So there's also a plethora of options in here. I don't actually wind up using them because I'm really not good at it, but you can change the grid size. It's good to have just in case. For the drums on here, I actually had to snap it all the way down to 30 seconds notes because there's some triplet kicks in there. You can turn the snap on or off. You can also change the key lock in here. So once you have an instrument and you go to these settings, you can do the key lock here as well instead of coming up here to change it. Here you would actually pick the key, but if you want to start messing around like I normally do after I get the basis, you would just turn it off in here. You can also loop it, but I don't like doing it in here. So let's see how it sounds. Don't quite like that, so I'm just gonna drag this up. It's really hard to do with one hand. Alright, that's what I meant to do. Kind of have a basis for the verse type parts, so I'm just gonna come in. Best way to record is to actually select the track, make sure it's highlighted. It'd be green if it is. I find that arming is kind of useless because if you have another track highlighted, it'll just record both. So just highlight the track and then come up here to record. It will give you a 4 count and then you would start. So I'm gonna do that and then just kind of show you how I'm recording. That was sloppy, so I'm gonna have to come back and do it, but just kind of want to show you guys. So if you mess up, there's 2 ways you can do it. You can just re-record, which is what I'm going to do, but if you double click like I just did, it'll give you a piano scroll, so you can kind of come in here, move stuff around. With the synths, a lot of times I'll actually come in here. Let's say I don't like the octave, it's already after I've recorded, so you just select all. Octave up and octave down, that'll shift it up and down. You can change the velocity in here as well. You can move them left and right by using this dial, and then on longer notes you can change the length. You can do it on all notes, but the longer notes it makes more sense because this will change the start of the note, push it to the right, make it shorter. This will change the ending the same way. You can make it longer or shorter, kind of make it snap to the grid, and then these will move them left and right along the grid. Alright, so I'm also going to show you how I kind of clean up as well. I didn't really do this on the guitars. Again, I'm not all that great at this, so there's one way you can do it. You can click and hold over here when you see the pointer change to this. That means you can kind of slide things over, shorten or lengthen the bar. This is also kind of useful. It's a fade in and out tool. But what I'm actually going to do is if you select the measure, just kind of click anywhere in that measure frame, or you can click up here. You can right click and then go to split and that'll cut it up here for you, so that way you can delete all the empty stuff. You can also come over here to this mouse, this pointer here, and do it. There's a split tool, there's paste if you have something in the clipboard. I prefer to right click, but the options are the same for Android as well. So delete that. In Android, again, you would come up to this pointer to do all these options, but I'm cheating because I'm on a computer. So pasting is a little bit tricky. Same way with splitting, you want to just come up to the measure that you're on. Sometimes you got to zoom in to make sure you're at the right spot. But when you paste, you have to actually do it at the measure. Otherwise, you'll have to drag it around. It's kind of a hassle. But as long as you do that, you're good to go. So let's just kind of hear it all together. Alright, so that section's done. So pretty much I'm using the same set in the ending just to keep it uniform. So you can actually click and hold. In this case I have the scratch track also for movement. It's easier to highlight tracks that way. You can also click on one and hold down shift and click the other, and it'll highlight both. And you can right click and copy, or Control C, Control V, whatever you're used to doing. As far as pasting, actually, if you move to this marker and just Control V, it tends to work a lot easier as well. So that's it for the layout, and I guess I will show you how to change the instrument. So in here, by default, this will probably be hidden. So you'll want to click here. My cat's hiding. My house is also a mess, so sorry. But you click this little arrow and it'll expand it. These are the advanced options, so you can come in here, turn the faders up and down in this case. Also, you can add effects like delay, reverbs. I use the compressor a lot. It's actually good. The delay is pretty good, as well as the reverb. But I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to change the instrument and kind of go from there. So just gonna play it back from the beginning and let it go in a loop, and we'll pick a sound. Alright, so since there is a pretty drastic difference between the one notes and the others, I could mess with it a little more in the instrument, but I'm just gonna add a compressor to kind of clamp down on that. So instead of having to listen to that over and over again, you can actually shrink the loop as well. So the loop region is going to be up here. If you just press on it, you can turn it off. If you press and hold and move left and right, you can drag it across certain measures, or come over here and see how the icon changed like it did before. Just gonna drag this in. Same thing over there. Apartment's pretty dark, so you can see the light that I'm using. Alright, and then just gonna fine tune it. Alright. Actually, I think I'm gonna add a stab here, so like I said, I already have the drums, so I think I'm gonna add a stab here. So like I said, I already added the drums. As you'll notice as well, again, if you have touchscreen, my laptop's touchscreen, so I can come in here, or again with the keyboard. if you're in the right octave, which I don't seem to be. So I'm actually just going to open this up. You double click on the piano roll and it'll open the sequencer as well. So this is not the default view. If you click on this little eyeball here, this is actually how it comes up as default. You can snap it by pattern size. For this sample I'm sticking to 4 because it tends to add a bit more variety when I can break it down by measure. You can do it by 1 or 2 or 4 or whatever, but I tend to like to do it that way. So I'm not using this sound, so I think I'm going to do it in here. So again, you can right click on any of these sounds. You can move them up and down, duplicate it, what have you. Clear a whole row of notes if you kind of mess up, and because otherwise you got to double click each one or double tap, and that's kind of a hassle. So I'm just going to change the sound. I want to see if I can find something interesting. Actually, the Linkin Park pack, so I guess I'll probably just come in here out of simplicity. If any of you actually follow MRL, you might notice that sound. It's in our side effects, may vary. Alright, I like that one. So I think I'm gonna give that one a go. Let's see. One thing that's cool, so if you're actually playing the song and you want to change the sound, right click, come in here, change. You can actually sample all of these in real time. And then click add on whatever one you like. I'm still going to try to play with this one, so when I add a reverb, just add that in just for a bit of texture. I may wind up taking it out because I'm not a huge fan of it, but if you click on that I again, just to show you real quick where the triplet drums were and how the snapping came in handy. This is quite difficult to do in the sampler. It's not impossible, but the easier way of doing it is just to come in here, click on that grid size, grid size, and then 1/32, and that will break it down. So you can just come in here, double click on notes, and add them in. Another way you can do it, and they have tutorials on this on their site, on their YouTube, but if you click and hold and drag either left or right, so click and hold, drag, and as I continue to drag, you'll notice that it'll autofill down to 64th notes, I believe. And if you drag left, you can get rid of them as well. And then double click to get rid of that. I probably just tapped on accident, so that's basically it. I'm just going to work on mixing at this point, and I will get this posted as soon as possible, so hopefully you guys learned something.